Welcome back to episode 13 of the Bullpen podcast. It was a big week for us as we just got done on Wednesday with our preseason pro case. And then Thursday, I know some of the guys went to the Max to help set up some stuff for the Super 60. And then on Saturday, some of us were up at the hotel that the Super 60 players were staying at, helping set that up. And then Sunday, obviously, was the Super 60 and then our unsigned senior showcase to follow. And we'll kind of get into some of the players later on in the episode. But awesome weekend, awesome week to kind of kick off our events. So I'm excited to get things rolling. So I don't know if you guys have any feedback or anything on that, but fun weekend.
No, I guess I'll jump in here. And I think you said it, like the Illinois-Wisconsin staff, since the Super 60 is here in Chicago, that's where it originated, I think 23 years ago, is what they were saying, that this was the 23rd Super 60. So our staff does take, and play a huge role in the setup, making sure things go smooth, giving the players the experience that they deserve. And you said it, like part of it goes to that hotel, setting that up. I know we did some stuff, some activation at Dick's Sporting Goods, with some interviews. Somebody said Shooter did close to 50 interviews on that Saturday, which is, after what we did at the IHS BCA interviewing coaches. And, I thought that was a lot of interviews. Like I was kind of blown away when I heard that number. So kudos to Shooter Hunt and Corey McCartney, who came up from Lake Point, to interview these guys and give them a cool experience. And then, yeah, Gavin, I think the event kind of speaks for itself. It keeps getting bigger and better. And I say bigger, we're not really inviting more players. It's just the coverage range of who we invite players and where we invite them from continues to get bigger. And with that, we are really able to cast a large net and invite the top prospects, in that senior class of high school. And they're coming from all over. And, there are some negatives that come from that when I'm sitting here being the Illinois-Wisconsin scouting supervisor. It's becoming harder and harder to get, our local guys into the event. And, it is what it is. It speaks to the quality of the Super 60 and just how high end it's become. And I know that's parlayed, and we've talked about this a couple times, but that's parlayed into why we do the pro case and when we do the pro case. Because a lot of these guys that came to the pro case, we had 25 plus players at the pro. A number of them would have been early invites to the Super 60 about 8 years ago, when I first started. But it's definitely changed. It's evolved. It's evolved for the better as far as, the event as a whole. And it's really good seeing all these scouts pour in, because it's not, it's a lot of faces that I know with the area guys that we see out at high school games in the summer. But man, what really sets this event apart for me is it's all the heavy hitters with the organizations. It's the decision makers, bringing in the cross checkers, scouting directors, along with area guys, so they can all get the looks at these players and follow them in the spring. And there will inevitably be a ton of money thrown around to players that were at this event. So that is a long-winded kind of thought on the weekend and on the Super 60, but that's what I had, Gavin.
But yeah, no, looking back to like we were talking about Shooter's interviews, him, Tyler, myself, Maria, Cronin, Jell, we were over in like the baseball section at Dick's Sporting Goods, like handing out clothes and stuff for them. And next to us was like the aisle or whatever, like the walkway. And I didn't realize Shooter and Corey were interviewing every player, but the aisle was just lined with players after they got their stuff, waiting to get their interview. So yeah, I didn't do the high school coach interviews that you guys did at the convention, but I cannot imagine how tough that would be doing back to back to back 50 times.
And constantly just having to be on your game and knowing the player that's coming up, and then being able to have the quality interviews that I'm sure he had, where he knows the background on all these guys and high schools and summer teams they play for and all that kind of stuff. So impressive stuff there, Shooter Hunt. You deserve a shout out.
And then one thing I wanted to mention too before we get too far into it, today's interview is with the CEO of Black Baseball Media. So excited to get that in here and have him talk about his company and the brand. I know it was a pre-recorded interview with him at the IHS BCA convention, and Drew and you guys were the ones that did that interview with him, right?
Yeah, Ernest, he runs a show over there. Really big fan of him and just the passion that he brings to what he's trying to do. I know they've activated some events here in Chicago, and they've got a cool little high school deal going on this spring with a couple teams, which I'm sure he'll get into in that interview that you guys will hear. But they're also trying to kind of make waves across the country in a couple different cities where they're trying to do some other cool stuff like they're doing here in Illinois. So it was awesome to catch up with him, get to talk to him. Like I said, he's got a ton of passion for what he does, and it's a lot of personality, and I think he's gonna do some big things.
And he just loves baseball. He was at the Super 60, right?
Yeah,
We
I saw
talked to
him
him a
there. He
little
walked
bit.
up
Yeah,
during the pitching. Yeah.
just loves baseball. Like talking to him, you can tell the guy just has a ton of passion for what he's doing.
Yep. So we'll see. I know it's something, Gavin, like we'd like to get in the mix with, or maybe, help cover that event that he's going to be running this spring at Ozinga. So we'll see. There's definitely more to come, but glad we were able to get him on.
Yeah, and like I had mentioned, with the unsigned senior and pro case, and obviously the Super 60R events in Illinois are underway now. And we have some events coming up here this weekend. We're going to O'Hare for, which is usually a pretty big event over at the Bow Dome. The following weekend, we're going to be up in McHenry for the McHenry preseason ID. Then we've got Lockport, St. Louis, Peoria, Chicago, Southern Illinois, like a ton of events all throughout the state, trying to make it easier on those people in different pockets of the state to get to an event. So looking forward to those. But yeah, I mean the Super 60 and Pro Case, like Drew mentioned, were awesome. We had a lot of fun at them, a lot of good players, just good seeing everybody. And I mean, is there really anything else, Def, like that happened? I know officially Ryan Presley is on the Cubs. I know last week when we talked, it was kind of like a not for sure done deal, but it was solidified. Yeah, is there anything else happening around baseball right now, or is it kind of a dead period?
Yeah, I mean, pitchers and catchers, depending on the team. Like, I know the Reds report a week from yesterday, so next Monday. So that's right around the corner. Spring training's almost here. It's awesome because like once the Super Bowl ends, MLB's like ready to go, which is always nice if you're a fan of those two sports. But no, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we got on here, Gav. Just Cubs are kind of the betting favorite to win the Central this year. I don't know how you three feel about that, but you sent over a note about the Pacoda projections, which is just a projection system that they run projections on division winners, playoff, all that stuff. So looks like the Cubs might be the team to beat in the Central. So I don't know how. I feel like Drew probably has something on
No,
that.
I mean that's great to hear if that's what they're thinking. I want quality sports in Chicago. Like that is kind of being raised here. Like that is just it's something. Whether it was in the '90s when I was growing up, we always had Jordan. We had a couple really good years with the Bears in like the 2000s with Urlacher, Matt Forte, and others. So like. I just want Chicago sports to be relevant. I want the Bulls. I know they made a trade like Zach Levine. They offloaded him. I don't know the mindset behind any of these organizations and what's going on. I just know a lot of them are not winning at a high clip right now. The Blackhawks, same deal. So yeah, hey, if the Cubs get it going, like I'm all for it. I was gonna mention how I saw like this Jim Edmonds tweet and comment that he made about the Cardinals. And I know with the whole last like 2 years and the new manager, and just it has not seemed as buttoned up down there as I've seen it in the past. Like that's an
What's
organization you
this?
never heard anything coming out on.
What's this Jim
Have you
Edmonds
heard
tweet?
it?
Do I need to? No. Do I need to look
He
this
was
up?
just basically talking about how he's not really sure what's going on down there. He doesn't feel welcomed. It's just a dynamic shift, is what it seems like. And I don't want to speak on it. It's one thing you see on social media. Like I don't want to say good, bad, indifferent. It just kind of raised my eyebrows. Like, huh? I wonder what's going on. So that was something that caught my eye in that NL Central division, talking about that. But no, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the MLB. I don't think, I think there's still things that are going to happen. I'm hoping so. We'll see what happens with the White Sox up here, if they're going to make any more moves, if some of these young guys are going to get promoted really early. So yeah, that was just kind of my takeaway. I was a little surprised to see Jim Edmonds have that take.
Well, go ahead, Pete.
No, Dev, how accurate has the PECOTA rankings been in the past?
I mean,
'Cause I've never even heard of it before.
MLB is such a crapshoot. Like I was telling Gavin about that beforehand. Like the projections are going off, what's on paper right now, right? Like, and it makes sense with the Cubs. Like that lineup is ridiculous, especially when you add Kyle Tucker. But say Justin Steele or Imanaga miss a month or two, right? Like then all those projections kind of go out the window. So it's something that, gives MLB fans something to complain about or brag about on social media during the dead period, I feel like. So I don't know. They're all a crapshoot.
I like it as an indicator, right? Hey, they think the Cubs are pretty strong. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that can take place over 162 games. But yeah, you always like to see that. So.
And I was just gonna mention one last thing on the Sox. MLB Pipeline released their top prospects by position, and Noah Schultz, our guy from Illinois, was rated as the top left-handed prospect in all of baseball. So
I
don't know if he'll get up this year or maybe towards the end of the year. I would imagine he's probably going to start in Double-A or maybe even Triple-A. So no, I thought that was really cool.
Well,
Wolkow's not far behind him either. I mean, obviously different position, but I know Wolkow's pretty high up there, organizational chart at least.
I was just going to say, and Daph, I know we've talked about this a little bit right before this, but also with the Cubs, Alex Bregman, I have seen things that there's a chance. Daph, I know you said that it's probably not going to happen from what you've seen, but that would be awesome if they could get him as well. We'll see.
The one guy I wanted to mention in the White Sox organization is Colson Montgomery. He's a left-hand hitting shortstop, and he's not from Illinois, but he's from Indiana. And I remember him in high school because our Indiana guys loved him. And I remember them telling me about him, that he was going to be a first rounder, all this stuff. And really excited to see what he can do, because he was another one of those guys. I think he was a big-time basketball player in high school as well. But Colson Montgomery, for me, that's kind of my pick to click to, as far as their prospects, to really make a statement fairly early on. So we'll see what happens. But there's opportunities in that organization, I feel like, to move up quick potentially.
Well, looking at our favorite players, kind of almost talking a quick hit story, but on our on the podcast a little bit, kind of an open discussion maybe about players that we've seen at our events so far this year. So looking at the preseason pro case first, Def and him, and I know you guys were really locked in on reports, and Drew, you were there as well, running the event and checking up on players as well. But I just want to open it up to just first initial takes on some of these guys that you saw, maybe some of your favorite player, biggest winner, whatever you want to go with it there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two biggest winners have to be Enzo and CJ, right? I mean, the two players that earned an invite to the Super 60, which is now the fourth year in a row that's happened. I mean, we can talk about, let's go CJ first. I mean, you just look at him. There's obviously a ton still in the frame, wide-shouldered, lean, young-looking. And then you watch him swing, take his rounds of BP. I mean, he took a great round of BP at the Pro Case, and I would say the Super 60 was even better. It's just super easy, still a ton to project on. The way he moves around third base, being that long levered, super natural, super smooth. There's a ton to like there. And then Enzo, I mean, he's just long been one of the best bats in the Midwest, and I would think now, I mean, he absolutely fit right in at the Super 60. So I would think he's in that discussion on a national level now as one of the better national bats, and that's probably underselling it. But I think he there's moving parts, but he sequences really well. He's always on time, a ton of strength in there. He's polished, and there's just a ton to like there. And he's obviously got a ton of arm strength behind the plate. I mean, getting up to 85. I think he was second at the Super 60 with 85 miles an hour, which was only behind Quinn Shambo, which is another Illinois guy. So, and yeah, if anyone had anything to add there,
Pete, can I jump in?
Yeah,
really
go
quick?
ahead. Yeah.
I kind of look back with Enzo back to what Adam Christ had told us about, like the chase rate out of the zone and things like that. And Enzo, I feel like anytime I've seen him, is always good about not swinging out of the zone. And he's, like you said, has good bat to ball skills. And Adam Christ was talking about like developing power as they get older, but Enzo has that now as well. So I just think that's interesting. Like you said, really good bat. But no, that's all I had on him.
No, I think you kind of hit it like both of you guys. So Enzo Infeliz, Providence Catholic. He's committed to Cincinnati. We see guys all the time that can hit, maybe lack a little power, or guys that, maybe swing and miss, chase, strike out, but have a ton of power. Like Enzo has both. He can really hit and he can hit for power. And he uses the whole field. It's not an all-pull approach. He's got just as much juice to right center as he does to left center. The one thing about him is he's always hit. He's a hitter. That's just in him. He's hit high-level arms. I know he showed it this past summer hitting high-level arms. I thought the frame looked, a little more cut than before. Where it was like quality strength or just quality kind of transforming of his body, which as he continues to do that, it's only going to help his prospect status. It's going to help his foot speed. I think he ran a 7.20, which for him catching, a guy that can hit with power, like that's okay that's like his worst tool. You know what I mean? Like his run tool. And then he's always had the arm strength. I saw him really working pitches in the bullpen setting, like really trying to stick some pitches. I didn't see all of the bullpens during the Super 60, but the ones I did with him, like I was like, all right, like Enzo's taking this game speed. I thought it looked good. And really, really good showing for him. And then if I want to get into CJ DeKinga here, like Manuka prospect, I know when we got on with Sean Duncan talking about just some of the great players that have come through Illinois, like they had Mike Fultonevich come through Manuka. They've had a lot of guys come through Manuka. Johnny Butler, center fielder that went on to play at NC State after going JUCO. He was a little bit before your guys' time. But next in line, man, I think a lot of people are going to have to be out this spring to see CJ. Like it is really, really good right now, and that ceiling just continues to get higher, in my opinion. Like breaking down what you're talking about, you talked about, hey, his BP round at the Pro Case was really solid, but I do think he took a more impressive BP round at the Super 60 in front of more and more people, higher ups. What also impressed me was every single metric at the Super 60 improved from the Pro Case pretty much. I was looking at his profile here just to break it down, but he ran a 6.82 at the Pro Case. He runs a 6.77 at the Super 60. He's 93 across the infield at the Super 60. He's 92 at the Pro Case. He's got a 102 exit velocity at the Super 60. It's 100 at the Pro Case. And this is all to go with a 6'4", 200-pound frame. And if that's not enough, he gets on our jump mat. We are now using Vald athletic testing for our 60s, our jump mat, and he had a top 5 vertical at the Super 60 with 31 inches. Like this guy, I probably say it, I use these terms and words, I overuse them probably, but like that is a thoroughbred. And what I love, like he can stick on the infield. Yes, we talk about the arm strength, like 93, like that's great, right? Like he's got plenty of arm strength, but you watch the way he moves and with his body, like he's got quick feet. He's working through the baseball. His hands are really, really receptive and soft. He can move to the glove side. He can move to the backhand. He can throw from multiple angles. I thought his double play feeds were super crisp. Like I was like wowed by the athlete. And then the swing continues to like clean up, and like I think this guy, we have him at 11th right now in the state, and this is probably for a further discussion down the line here, a future podcast. But like when we try to reorder these 2025s, I don't remember a class that is going to, give me stress and nightmares the way this class is. Like there are so many arms, especially down south this year in this class that could factor into the top 10. And there's just only so many spots. So love what CJ DeKinga did. Love what Enzo Infelice did, because that is Enzo. Like, hey, go like show you to the best of your ability, and I thought both of those guys did that. And like you said, Pete, like earning that from the pro case, like we go into the Super 60, we run the pro case the week before for a reason. We want to see these guys. We want to get an updated look. Hey, Shooter Hunt, leave a spot. We had a spot open for a standout, and that's why we do it. And these guys, credit to them. They're probably ticked because they want to come to the Super 60. They're top 15 guys in the class. Like, why are they not at the Super 60? It keeps getting harder, but they came to the pro case and they earned it. And then they went to the Super 60 and just did more of the same, if not better. So it gets me fired up. Like, I'm pumped for those guys, because like, the players do it, right? Like the players go out and just show out. We try to give them the opportunity and the venue and the experience and put them in the right place to be seen by the right people. But ultimately, it is on them. So, fired up, but awesome showing by both of those guys at the pro case. And I think we're talking about the pro case, and I know those two guys kind of trickle into the Super 60 here, so we can get into the Super 60 later. But that's what I had on the two standouts for me at the pro case. And there were others as well that probably deserved to be there. Yeah.
The name that I was going to bring up next is Trey Myers. And the reason being is he was also on the Future Games team a few years back with CJ, DeKinga, and Enzo Infelice. That was, I think, Tyler and I's intern summer. Is that right? They were all on that same team together? Or am I messing this up?
You're a little jumbled up, but it's okay. Enzo was our intern year. But the year after was Deckinga, Myers, Holst. Josh Holst was also on that team, who I know we're going to touch on, but yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. If you guys had anything on Trey Myers, I know his numbers, just for his size, like especially his run, I think he had probably one of the top 60s at that event. He has some really impressive tools.
Yeah, I mean, Drew, I'm going to use your favorite word. He's another thoroughbred. I mean, what is he, 6'5", 6'6"? I think we measured him at 6'5". And he is physical, filled out. I mean, you look at his quads in his round of BP, just the way those things are popping out of the pants. Like, he is tooled up, like you said, 6'5" runner. I'm blanking off the top of my head.
He was,
what was it?
6'4" runner,
okay.
Just so you know.
But he's been
yeah, and I think he's been better than that in the past. But I mean, if he keeps packing on muscle and quality strength and he's still running that good, like, you don't see too many guys built at 6'6", 223, first off, that are running a sub-7. And he's touching that 6'5", 6'6" range. Like, that's elite company.
Yeah, and I'm looking up his outfield velo right now. I forget what it was off the top of my head.
At the 89. Pro case, it was 89. Yeah, 101 exit velocity. It looks like he's kind of been steady, like at 89 for the past couple of years. But he ran a 6.58 in 2023 at the Future Games, and I'm wondering, he comes to the pro case in Shorewood at the Rhino Academy in the middle of the winter. Does the weather, does the being in the off season play a role on that 6'6" instead of a 6'5", and maybe that heat in Georgia at the Future Games kind of loosened him up for that 6'5"? But regardless, like, guy can run. Yeah.
And the track too, like the turf that plays a big role into it too. How like slow the track is, how thick and like soft the turf can be. But no, I really like his round of BP. I mean, he's got pretty dumb hand strength or hand speed and bat speed. Like, he was averaging 76 miles an hour with the bat and then like 23 miles an hour with the hand speed. I thought he took a really good round, strong. I mean, using the whole field with authority. I mean, yeah, there's things he can clean up in the swing, but he's long levered and there's a ton to dream on there. So, I mean, he's another surefire guy that would have fit right in at the Super 60, right? I mean, someone
and I know
physical.
He wanted to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that a lot of these guys did, and that makes it hard. Is the spots are limited, and we have to make choices. But he's a guy, like you said, would have fit right in. People need to know about him. I'm glad we're calling him out here. Like it's definitely a huge ceiling, and guys are not built like that. That can run that way, that have that frame, that have that easy juice, like you were talking about. I was struck just by, and he's always been this way, but just how easy the ball was coming off the bat. And like you mentioned it, kind of spraying it around the yard, but like he was actively, it felt like, trying to use the middle of the field. And that always impresses me because these young guys, like sometimes they can lack an approach and they want to all get to that, peak exit velocity number. And you see a ton of balls rolling over to the pull side, maybe getting 1 out of 10 where he actually times it up and elevates it and gets the true number. But no, I really liked what I saw to Trey.
Yeah, and guys will be out to see him this spring. Like, he is like on people's list right now. He's on the Cub Scout team this past fall, so people know about him. So I'm sure there will be people out to see him.
Yeah.
And then I think two of my, I think honestly probably just the group as a whole, favorite left-handed bats from the event, Davis Colley and Brady Schalmoser. And honestly, like personally, maybe Joey Aaron, throw him in there too. Like, so I don't know if you guys have anything on Colley. I mean, it was a really good round of BP, I thought.
Yeah, we can talk about Aaron as a two-way and a couple guys, but yeah, Davis Colley and Brady Schalmoser. I mean, Brady was the first guy to go. Me and Tyler were on hitting evals, and we were both just kind of looked at each other like it's the first hitter we've seen in a few months evaluating. Like, so the first, like, it's hard to gauge quite where we're at with the eyes, but we're like, that was pretty good, and it ended up being one of the better ones of the day. Like, really polished. We've long loved the bat from Brady. Super polished. He's got some juice too. I mean, he was using the whole field with ease. And Davis, he's more there was more power. Brady's probably more the bat to ball, kind of hit for average guy right now, but the strength will come. And Davis, I mean, he can hit for average too, but he's got a ton of juice, and I love like the intent that he has in his swing. Like, he was juicing some balls big time to the pull side and up the middle. So they were just two really impressive rounds for me.
I'm right there with you, Pete. Like, starting off the event with Brady Schalmoser, it's like, dang, is it going to get any better than this? Like, it's such a pretty, fluid, repeatable swing that's on balance. And I was actually throwing to the lefties at that event, which always gives me a unique perspective. I love doing it because you can kind of tell, like, where guys can handle pitches, where they like to swing, like where they want the ball, where their sweet spot is and all that stuff. And Schalmoser, like, he could handle pitches all around the zone. But he is super comfortable letting that ball travel and taking that pitch away and hammering it to left center. And then Davis Colley, it's just like, they are different, the way they swing, because he's all about that controlled aggression. Like, I'm in the box with a purpose, like with a presence, and there is a ton of presence to him in the box. And that he was on the barrel, like consistently elevating to the pull side with that controlled aggression. Both really, really impressive rounds.
I actually have a quick story about Brady Schalmoser, just looking back a couple of years. Intern summer, where I'm up at the Rock covering a tournament, and I'm at MATC, and I go up to the coach, and I'm like, hey, like, who are some of your best players? And he listed off a couple of players, and Schalmoser was on that team, but he was not mentioned by the coach. So after the game, it was like, in my opinion, clear that Schalmoser was probably the best player on that team. So I was talking to the coach. I'm like, hey, like, why didn't you mention this Schalmoser kid? And he's like, well, that's actually my son. He's like, I didn't want to do that. Like, I just felt weird saying. I'm like, oh, that's all right. That's fair. But I just thought that was cool, and then now cool to see him at the pro case.
Well, that's awesome, and that speaks to that there's some humbleness there, which I think rubs off onto the son. And Brady's always been a really respectful, quiet, just kind of go about your business. But I'm a big fan of Brady, and no, that's good to hear that his dad, wasn't shouting his name from the rooftops and let you figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
He probably figured, like, hey, if this guy's any good at what he does, like, he'll find him. So.
Fun fact, my fiance's mom was his kindergarten teacher.
Brady's?
Well. Oh, nice.
Yeah, Brady. Yeah. She loved him too back when he was
right.
in her class.
All right. Well, that's definitely one to watch. And he's going to Wabash Valley. So like we're shouting him out here, But it's one of those like, hey, D1s, if you're listening, like, get on him early. Like, it's a guy that could very, very well blow up at Wabash Valley. He'll be a hard one to keep out of the lineup.
And then we also, I don't know if I'm doing this too early, or if you guys had a couple more hitters that you wanted to talk through.
Well, I wanted to shout out
ahead.
just Indiana. Like, kudos to Cooper Trinkle, Phil Wade. First off, like, there's some of their staff came up to the event, which they didn't have to do. But they wanted to see their guys. And they reached out, they pushed the pro case to their guys, and they had a number of position players come up. A lot of really, really interesting left-handed bats. Brant Kendall, I thought, really, really stood out for me from Scottsburg. You guys may need to cross-check this for me because I am not as locked in clearly to Indiana as I am Illinois. All right, so he's a Ball State commit, but he ran extremely well. It was like a 6.66 runner, and kind of like Davis Collie, there would just throw into him like there was presence all over him. Like this kid wants to hit. He's almost like angry in the box, but he knows how to control it. And man, there's a lot of juice in the bat. He caught a couple to the pull side. I don't have the numbers broken down right in front of me, but I just, I wanted to call out a couple of their guys. Peyton Dickens, Cal Gates. I know I'm probably missing one or two, but Wyatt Pennington came. He's another. What's that?
So I didn't mean to cut you off. Mason Barth was one of my favorite guys too.
Mason Barth.
Dame. Yeah.
Yes.
Switch
yes.
hitter.
Well,
Switch hitter.
Just to add on Kendall Drew, he led the event in max distance of 408 foot.
Okay.
So
it was
legit
for me. Yeah, I mean everybody's swinging wood there. That kind of goes without saying, being a pro case, but man, he's got some tools, like the way he runs, the bat strength, the juice. I liked that. I liked the future there. And then just a lot of athletic looking frames. Peyton Dickens, long levered, can run, left-handed bat. Mason Barth, you mentioned him, switch hitter. And then Wyatt Pennington, I thought was another one worth mentioning because yes, he's really good as a position player, but you watch the way he throws the ball across the infield, like his arm might be his carrying tool. I've heard it's really good on the mound. Now he didn't throw. It's still early here in Illinois, Indiana for guys to throw. But I did want to shout those guys out, Gavin. I think they deserve it. And man, like you mentioned Joey Aaron. I know he was a two-way guy we might touch on, but like every left-handed bat I thought was really interesting. Zach Bava, he's a fan favorite of mine. I love the way he plays the game. He shows better to me in game than he does in showcase, and he still showed well at the pro case. I think he's close to breaking the Naperville North career record for hits, which means something to me. He's a Naperville North grad, and that's my alumni as well. So anytime I can get some meat on the bone to shout out Naperville North, I'm going to do it. But yeah, the Huskies over there, we'll see what Zach can do, and hopefully he breaks it early on his final spring season there.
And Drew, you kind of mentioned Joey Aaron here, but I mean, do you guys want to get into some left-handed arms? I mean, I feel like Josh Holst being uncommitted now is just kind of a big name to talk about from that group.
And even before that, I want to talk about like two of the two-way guys that stood out to me. Let's start with Joey Aaron. Former future gamer. There were a lot of former future gamers that came to the pro case, like Liam Arsich, Jackson Natanic, Joey Aaron. I mean, Zach Bava. The list goes on and on and on. But Joey Aaron is athletic, and you look at the movement patterns. Like he's gonna have to be a guy to watch. Like whether he's a draft guy right out of the gate or if he has to go to college, I don't know, because I think he's one of the ones that we've talked about. Like I think the power is gonna come. But it's a loose, whippy swing. He sprays it around the yard. You watch the way he moves in the outfield, and we're indoors. There's only so much you can do, and it's like, that's an outfielder. Like, you can pick that out. Like, he could play all three spots. He moves with fluidity. And then you look at the arm, and it's like, wow, that is loose, whippy, quick. And I loved it on the mound, Pete. Like, I know we were going to kind of get into what he did on the mound. I loved it. It was 88, 89. I might have been a touch firmer. Like, he was not one of the firmest arms there. But when you talk about operations, and I know he's had a ton of success on the mound in the past, like, I really liked him. And then Jackson Natanic, I definitely think he deserves a shout out. Like, the guy is a baseball player. He's had a presence in Brother Rice's lineup for a long time now, but can flat play shortstop. He was 94 across the infield. If it's hit to him, if he gets it, it's an out. Like, it's pretty much that simple. Like, it's a vacuum of a glove. Can throw from multiple slots, and then on the mound, all he does is spin the baseball at a high level. You know, you look at him, it's not your most projectable frame. He's not 6 feet tall, but the stuff is real. The stuff is really real. He spins the heck out of the breaking ball up to close to 3,000, and those are two guys I had to get it out there, Gavin. So let me.
Yeah,
thanks
no,
for
Drew,
letting
and
me,
actually,
get in.
I want to hop in just really quick.
Okay.
Natanic. So a couple of years ago, Illinois State had a guy named Eli Dale, who was kind of like their closer. Sometimes he'd come in at like the 8th inning, 7th inning. 1 inning guy. He had like a sinker, slider, really good slider, super high spin. Ended up getting drafted by the Mariners. And honestly, Natanic kind of reminds me, on the mound at least, of him, of being like that guy that could just come in for an inning with a really good slider and just get guys out. So I'm excited to see him at Illinois State and how he does, and see if he's more two-way, goes on the mound, hitter, like we'll see.
And that's the cool thing about it, in my opinion, is he's truly a guy. There's not many of them out there. A lot of people think they are like true two-way guys. He is truly a guy that I don't know where it's going to end up being better, because he can really handle the bat. There's not a lot of swing and miss. He's got a feel to hit. And anybody that can play up the middle, like, it's hard to say, okay, you're going to go pitch. So it'll be very interesting to see.
Natanic was probably my favorite guy defensively from this event, and what a problem Coach McBride has over our Brother Rice, because Triesenberg was honestly just as impressive. Like, I mean, if I'm a pitcher at Brother Rice, anytime a ground ball's hit up the middle, you know it's an out pretty much. Like, both of those guys are so good with the glove. It's natural. But I just had to throw that out there because, I mean, that's probably the best middle infield duo in the entire state. Like, I would think.
Triesenberg's a great call out. Like, another former future gamer. He's another guy. Kind of reminds me of Zach Bava. Like, a showcase setting does not do him justice. He is a game player. The guy's got all kinds of IQ, kind of leads by example. He is that steady Eddie, like, does not show a ton of emotion, takes great at bats, uses the whole field. He is a tough out, like, knows how to run the bases. So love that you called him out. But yeah, Gavin Triesenberg, he's an Arizona commit. And I think, Pete, you might have been getting in there on one of these guys.
Yeah. No, that's a good shout on Triesenberg. Not many guys can move like that at that size up the middle. But no, Natanic, I mean, he's always had like those big time actions, and they always show really well in IO and showcase and in game too. I mean, he's a vacuum, like you said. But I was really impressed with his bullpen. Like Drew said, I mean, you're right. Not the most projectable body, but he keeps getting better. He was like 87, 88 last year. I didn't really see him pitch actually last year, so I couldn't speak to it. But he was up to 91, and it's not even the spring yet. So like, clearly there's more in there. Like the spin, it's like that'll tell you too. Like he can spin the heck out of the baseball. That indicates some more. I mean, he was averaging 2,900 RPM on the slider. Like that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, and going off Joey Aaron too. Like that kid he's another one. I don't know what it's going to be in 2-3 years, like which position he's going to be if he has to pick, but I loved it at both spots. I really like the easy looseness, like the 3/4 slot, kind of that natural sink slider, changeup guy. I think he's got a really, really bright future at Xavier on both sides of the ball.
And then, yeah, Pete, do you want to kind of get into some of these left-handed arms that
Sure.
you guys saw? I mean, Josh Holst, Lucas Grant, Jake Reifenberg.
Yeah, let's go with Holst first because he's uncommitted. Yeah, another former future gamer, like we said. I really, really, and I know Drew has mentioned this before, really love the way he moves down the mound. Like, tons of intent. Like, he's one of those guys where if you're on, like, a turf mound, you got to load that thing up with plates because he's going to move that thing, and it's going to go, like, 5 feet on the turf if you don't stop it. Luckily, we had a pretty big mound we were using at the Pro Case, so that thing wasn't going anywhere. But tons of force, tons of intent, clean. and you can project more on the body. Yeah, he's physical, but like there's you can and there's a ton of strength in there too. But like you can just tell as he gets older and more mature, like that body will continue to get like more athletic, a little trimmed up maybe, and just continue to get better. But he was up to, let's see, 92, sitting 90, 91. And yeah, I mean the off speed, that'd be like the only knock right now is that the off speed might be a touch behind. But I mean that is no concern really. I mean the fastball is that good. I see it get a ton of swing and misses in and out of the zone. I mean, he racked up a ton of strikeouts last year. I think it was maybe about like 80 and like 50 innings just off the top of the head. But there's something to that fastball, and the changeup's really good when it's on as well.
Yeah, his changeup's always been his calling card. And what I love what you're saying about like his frame. So the way I look at Holst is he gives me starter vibes. Like I get starter
Like
vibes off of
workhorse,
Holst,
yeah.
especially if he can continue to develop and, you know, get that spin going. Because it flashes. Like it'll flash, above average, but then it'll flash average. His changeup has long been his go-to, but like he's a guy to me that's going to hold the velo. And that's ultra important as well when you start talking about, okay, starter versus reliever, where's this guy fit? So that was kind of my takeaway there on Holst. And he's long been a performer. And ever since he decommitted, I've been getting blown up. So there's definitely still schools that are looking for high-level left-handed arms. That it's why they are such a high commodity, why we value them so high from a ranking standpoint and all that stuff is there's a lot fewer left-handed arms than right-handed arms, and every school wants quality lefties, and you can never have enough of them. So, yeah.
No,
who
you're right,
else?
Drew.
Yeah,
it
what do you
it
got?
does flash really good, the breaking ball. Like, it does have good shape. Like, it's just the spin will occasionally be behind at times, but that's really not even, like, I'm not the biggest TrackMan nerd in the world, but talking with, like, someone like Josh Fields, that's not the end of the world at all. Like, if you got the right shape and if it tunnels well, that's fine. So, I would just like to see it firm up a little bit maybe in the future, but just, a couple pressure adjustments or moving the fingers around, trying a new grip, that's an easy fix. That's why all these big time schools are on him right now.
Two other arms. I mean, I thought the lefties in general were really impressive. When you start talking about Joey Aaron, we just talked about Joshua Holst, Lucas Grant, Joliet Catholic, and then Jake Reifenberg Bennett. Lucas Grant, we've talked about him a lot on this podcast, so I won't go too crazy on him, but Purdue commit, keeps getting better. Was supposed to throw out the senior future games, had a little thing in the neck. Clearly, that's way behind him. And just did more of what we've been accustomed to seeing, like lived at the bottom of the zone. There's a slight little hesitation in the delivery that I think plays up like some deception. It almost makes the fastball look like it plays a little harder, but 3 pitches, a lot of strikes. I thought, he's one of the more polished arms we have in the class. Long performed. He's going to be a huge arm for Joliet Catholic this year. And then Jake Reifenberg. Jake Reifenberg was a guy that's kind of been on our radar for a while. Like he's one of those guys that you see as a young prospect. I want to say I started seeing videos of him, or maybe he came even to an event as a freshman, sophomore. And it was like 80, 82. But he moves right. It's good movement patterns. It's a quick arm. It's loose. It's clean. And those guys, just in general, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into it, but like those guys almost always get better and gain velocity. And his velocity has just skyrocketed over the last year and a half. Like even looking back to the state games this past summer, and looking at his stats here, I think he was maybe the hardest throwing lefty that we had it on the day, Gav. That might be hard to break down, but
Him and
all
Grant
these
were
lefties were
actually,
basically low 90s.
yeah, sorry, they were all 92. Just
Okay.
going off what
Yeah.
we got on the pitching stats sheet
And like
here.
Reifenberg, what really stood out to me was like everything seemed really dynamic with movement in the zone. Like his fastball's got some late life and tail to it. The breaking ball's got a little bit different shape to it, but then the changeup, it's like horizontal movement for days. To where like, okay, like he's naturally moving this baseball with the changeup. Now, can we make sure the arm action is the same as the fastball? Can we get the feel to be a strike every single time? But it's like these are foundational pieces that excite you about a prospect because his floor just continues to rise. Um, and I don't think there's any slowing down with him. Like he's got a lot more physicality to come in the frame, and like with the way he moves, like he is only gonna throw harder. So I know I kind of just took the reins there on those two lefties, but feel free to add on to anything that maybe I missed.
No, you're totally right on both. Like I think they're both really projectable. And they both just keep getting better each year. I think they're both really dynamic too. Like Lucas Grant, everything's moving a different way. And yeah, he's super polished, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Reifenberg in person. And it was a great look, like you said, really dynamic. Really love the way the arm comes through too. There's definitely more in that tank. And yeah, I thought it was an awesome event for the lefties. Like, really wasn't too sure what was gonna go down with these arms. Like, hadn't seen a few of them personally in some time, but I was really impressed, and I thought it was a great event.
And then how about uncommitted right-handed arm from Wisconsin, Sam Heft? He was up to like 93. I think he led the event with highest velo, and then his arm, he just had a really quick arm.
He impressed me. I don't know about you guys. I kind of thought he was pouring in strikes. With the firmest velo of the day. Like I thought his fastball was in the zone or at least around the zone a lot. And then kind of like Reifenberg, like I thought he had some dynamic off speed. Like I thought the breaking ball had some really good downer to it, and then he was mixing in a splitter. That's a guy. I mean, man, he should have plenty of kind of late pop up schools to choose from. Because I think it's a borderline starter as well. Like I think that remains to be seen. I'm sure Wisconsin guys have a lot more on him than we do. But man, to be uncommitted this late, popping a 93, he's got a really good looking frame on him. There's a lot to like on Sam.
Yeah, I was a big fan, and he was the guy. He was the one that I was actually talking to Fields about the TrackMan data, because his curveball did not spin. Like,
metrically, the RPMs,
RPM wise,
yes.
It was not a ton. It was like 1,500 to 1,700, but the shape and like the IVB and the tunneling was like really good. And just watching it, like that's like the interesting thing with all the tech now. Like you can watch a breaking ball, it'll be a banger, and it's like 1,900 RPM, and you're like, wait, what? And then you see like Natanic and it's 2,900, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But it just doesn't always like line up in that way. But it's because it's more of like the shape and the maybe the how it's spinning, like the trueness of the spin, I'm blanking on the correct word for that. The axis, efficiency, spin efficiency potentially, yeah, just all that stuff like plays into it. So no, I was really impressed by him.
And then I mean that kind of wraps up, I think, or unless you guys have anyone else you want to touch on before we move on. But
no, I think you're great. I was actually gonna kind of just say like it was. I thought the depth of the event was extremely quality. That's probably not the right way to put it, but I was very impressed with the depth of the event. There was plenty to talk about, plenty to look at, and like we kind of mentioned to start, like two guys ended up earning Super 60 invites off of it, and I'd probably say let's get into the Super 60 next.
Okay.
So if you guys are cool with that, like just some takeaways.
Just really quick too, we had a good pro scout turnout too. I don't know if we mentioned that, but that was really, really relieving to see. I was super happy for those guys to get the showcase in front of that amount of school or teams.
Yeah, and that's something that kind of has organically grown since we started the event. I think the first year we ran the event, we didn't know what to expect. We just put it on the board because we were like, man, there's a lot of guys that need to be seen that aren't coming to the Super 60. There might have been like one guy that showed up 4 years ago. And ever since, it's just gradually gotten better. I want to say this year we had 15 to 20 guys there. Last year we probably had about 15, maybe 12 to 15. So, yeah, Gavin, I think that's a really good call out. And it means a lot to me, that they're wanting to come out and see these guys and support what we're doing.
And then, looking at the Super 60 now, Sunday, we kind of talked through Dekinga and Infelice. I don't know if you guys want to add more to that, but I know, Drew, you kind of mentioned some of their Super 60 performances. But, I mean, we had a good amount of guys there, and Quinn Chambeau, Ethan Moore, Connor Essenberg, and then Brandon Shannon was our only guy that threw a pen that day. So I'll let you guys kind of get in there if you have anybody you want to talk through.
Where do we want to start? Maybe with Quinn?
I mean, if you want to start with an elite defensive catcher,
Quarterback? Not quarterback.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
cool with Shambo.
No, I mean, he took probably the best round of defense there. I thought, especially throwing it down to second, like, he was the first one to go, just the ease. That's how it's supposed to look, right? Like, when you go to see a high level catcher, that is exactly what it looks like. Carrying true on the bag, not a ton of effort, not rushed. Like, he is not cheating either. And it was like 195 to 2 seconds on the pops, but that's a legit 195, and he'll do that in game because he's not rushing, he's not cheating, he's staying back. And I just love watching him receive too in game. Supernatural, strong hands. And I like the round of BP too. He's like the strong right-handed hitter on the barrel with wood. I think he was up to 97 off the top of the head exit velo, but it was loud. And I just have long liked him on both sides of the ball.
I was
And
trying to find stats. Sorry. The arm behind the plate is just nuts. I was trying to find what like MLB average is, but like Drew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure anything above like 83 is like ridiculous from behind the plate because you got to think about it. A catcher doesn't have time to do a full arm swing and get that ball out. Like it is from the ear and it's got to come out. So just his arm is nuts back there. I think the thing I just want to touch on with Quinn is like a couple summers ago when he was a future gamer, I wasn't really around him. Being around him at the Super 60, that kid has such a like business approach to his game. It seemed like he was just absolutely dialed in. I don't know if I saw the kid smile the whole event, which, you know, that's not a knock on him. I just felt like he was that dialed in and that professional with what he was doing on Sunday.
I know he's a guy we've talked about a lot, and I think he deserves it. You guys all I thought were spot on. Like talking about his arm strength, it's elite. You know, for a high school, like you're not gonna find many other high school catchers around the country that are gonna have a better arm, if any. He might be a top three. You know, when it comes to just the throw. Because I was blown away. Like in the past, you know, he'll show the strength, but not every single one is right on the bag. Like he was all over the bag. And you mentioned it, Pete, and I thought it was a great point. Like 195 to 20. It's like, whoa, it's not the most flashy. Like you see these like 1.7 pop times on these, you know, showcases that come out across the country. It's like, if he wanted to be a 1.78 pop, he could have been. Like he could have rushed it. He could have thrown it all over the place and had the pop, but like he's like, that's not how it's done. Like I've got more feel than that. Like I know I'm good. I know this is what it should look like, and I'm going to put every single one on the bag, and it's going to be electric out of my hand. And that's exactly what he went out and did. And it was so cool to see. I was so like, kind of just like proud of, you know, an Illinois guy to represent like that, to have that makeup that you're talking about, Defaball, like come in with that business mentality. Like, I know what I'm going to do. His swing continues to get better. It continues to clean up. It reminds me a little bit of like Trey Myers. Like I thought from the last time I saw Trey Myers to this year or this winter last week, like his swing had cleaned up. Like Quinn keeps making quality adjustments. And when you can catch like that, you can play for a long time. And I know I've been doing this for like 10 years now. And really the only guy that comes to mind that is this close defensively, and he may have been better than Quinn. I think they both had I think Cooper Johnson is who I'm talking about. Carmel Catholic. He's still playing pro ball. Went to Ole Miss, but Cooper was as action wise, it was as good as I've seen behind the plate. Andy had the arm with it. Quinn's right there. It's close. But you factor in what he does on the football field. It's just, man, how do you not love that guy? So yeah, it was great to see.
That's a great comp too, by the way.
With Cooper?
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I knew I could find it. So last season, Christian Bethencourt led Major League Baseball in average arm strength from behind the plate, and it was 85.3. So Shambo having an 86 is speaks to, like you said, Drew, it's elite from behind
Well,
the
and you
plate.
mentioned like they're coming out of the crouch. They got to get rid of it. Like they also have gear on. Like they've got gear on, and he's throwing missiles down there. So no, that to me was a standout of the event. Like that catcher portion, like I thought he stood out. There was maybe one or two other guys that I thought threw it where you're like, oh man, okay, that could rival it. But I thought the actions, everything, all encompassing, it was like Quinn Shambo defensively. So now I didn't see all the bullpens because I think that plays a huge factor in it too. Like, how do you set up? How do you receive these dudes throwing 92 to 95 with wipeout sliders? How are you blocking? I think that plays an even bigger role because like it's all you got to catch the baseball first. But I'm a Quinn Shambo guy.
And then we've got like Connor Essenberg and Ethan Moore still to kind of go through as our last two bats before getting into Braden Shannon. Essenberg, big right-handed hitter. I saw his round. I thought it was a really good round of BP. A lot of juice in the right-handed bat. Really easy, really fluid. Like it's not like it's super efforty. It was just easy juice. So really like to see that. But I mean, I know you guys have seen him more in game maybe than I have some more information on him. But
I was videoing his round, so like I was dialed in on making sure he was centered, so I was not watching the ball carry, but I saw one out of the corner of my eye that I knew it did not hit the ground, and it hit that bottom part of the screen, that like what material, like that rubber part. So he like backspun it like 20 feet off the ground, and it carried the whole way. And I was like, holy, that was a missile. So yeah, showing the backspin. I was watching a little bit of the video. He was elevating some balls to the pull side. But yeah, I mean, I love the bat. And he did not throw it all because of the he's like 85%. I've heard it like in his throwing progressions right now. So no need to throw defensively, like didn't take first base. But that's what I wanted to bring up. Like he was a 6. Oh, wow. I need to look what he actually was running. I think it was
Essenberg, I believe, ran a 6.92.
6.92, right. So moves well. You don't see many first basemen move that way. And that brings up my next point. He's a legit outfielder. And Drew, you've mentioned it in the past. Like he has all sorts of actions out there, and the arm strength is premium as well. So he's got some versatility. Love the bat. I think that kid, I mean, he didn't pitch either. That's the main thing. Like I said, he's only like 85% with his arm right now. He's another one. Don't know what he's going to be down the road, but I really, really like it on both sides of the ball, and I thought he had a great showing as a position player.
When you talk to Coach Zeich, his high school coach, it's hard to not have him play first base because he's so good at first base defensively. Like he saves them tons of runs, apparently, scoops everything. So he clearly has the versatility defensively, which I just think helps your value. And then you factor in the fact that he's a two-way guy and he can pitch as well. And I've long loved the bat. I really like the at-bats he takes. He can recognize spin if you want to just talk about like in-game at-bats we've seen. But yeah, I thought he showed exactly, who he was. Like I thought it was, hey, that is Connor Essenberg. And to me, like that's all you're really trying to do at that event. Like you're there for a reason. So like go be you. And I thought he did that. And I kind of thought Ethan Moore did as well. But so Ethan, getting into him, it's tough because all he did was hit. So we can't really talk about how he ran. We can't really talk about his defense, which I know a lot of people were wanting to see. I think he had a little roll of the ankle or something. So he just hit, switch hitter. It's really flat. It's really repeatable. It's kind of everything we've seen in the past. I know he had, a really good summer, especially at some big events. But it's that control the barrel, spray it around the yard. Like I'm going to hit for a high average is the way it looks to me. And I'm going to backspin some doubles into the gap. And then I may accidentally, elevate one of the pull side and flash some power every once in a while. But the frame, he looked extremely strong. Like there's work ethic there. That was one thing that stood out to me. Like this guy gets after it. Just looking at the way the frame has kind of progressed over the years. So only so much you can see in one round of BP, but really happy he was there. He has been a name that has kind of been buzzing all over the place this winter. So I'm sure he will get plenty of attention this spring.
Absolute tree trunks for legs too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's also another one that we were talking about Quinn being like, quiet, humble. He's also that guy. I mean, we had his brother interning for us this past summer, and he had to drive Ethan home after a game, and it was just funny. He like went 4 for 4 or something with like 4 missiles, and then just came over like all quiet. He was like, "Can you drive me home now?" And so it was just funny.
Business as usual.
Yeah, but no, I really liked both rounds. I love how compact it is to the gaps with authority. Yeah, I think it's really repeatable. Like you said, it's going to play in game, whatever that next level is for him, whether it's college or if he wants to go into pro ball right away. But no, he's definitely going to have guys on him this spring.
And then our lone arm from the Super 60 was Brandon Shannon up there in McHenry. I actually saw a little bit of his pen, just getting video of it, but then I didn't get to watch the full thing. I had to move around. But he was up to like 94, almost 95. I think it was like 94.8.
Yeah, we'll round up. That's 95.
That rounds up on the track, man.
Yeah, so 95. No, I mean, I'm excited to see what he does this spring in game. I'm sure he's going to dominate, but he also has some pretty tough competition up there. But honestly, one thing, and maybe you guys can add to this, that really stood out to me or surprised me was he threw a splitter at like in the upper 80s, touched 90 with his splitter like that. I thought that was pretty unreal.
With also like 0 IVB. Like apparently that's like an unreal pitch, according to Fields. He was kind of filling me in on that. But yeah, it was like 87 to 89, around 90 with like 0 IVB. And you watch in the video, some of them like dive really late too. He thinks that's his best pitch besides the fastball. But
okay,
yeah, I mean, watching him walk up to the mound, like I haven't seen him in person in a while. I was like, who is this? Oh, it's Brandon Shannon. He's getting a little more filled out now, but still ultra high waist, long legs, long limbs, still moves really easy. I mean, you can look at the video from now until or from a year ago. I was talking to Tyler. I couldn't believe we've only seen him and known about him for a year, just with how like meteoric his rise has been. He was 91 a year ago. Definitely like some rawness and some like some youthfulness to the delivery, like kind of just like didn't look like he knew completely, like he maybe knew what he was doing. Like some rawness, like opening up a little early, kind of just letting it rip. And he's gotten a lot cleaner. There's still even more room for him to, get more polished up with the delivery, but it has gotten cleaner if you look at the old video, and he's up 4 miles an hour. Like, not a surprise why. And if that just continues to trend up, continues to get more physical like he has, continues to clean up mechanically, that is just going to continue to go and go and go. And he had one of the highest ceilings there, regardless of position. I would say him and CJ.
Well, I'm glad you touched on like the meteoric rise, because I think that's the craziest thing. Like, and I'll let Drew touch on this. Drew honestly started the Brandon Shannon fan club within our staff this time a year ago after we saw him at McHenry preseason ID. Like, it's really crazy the trajectory he's on. It's also early. Like, he was up to 95 at Super 60. I saw him twice last year, once earlier in the spring and at the end of the spring, and like the velo was ticking up as the year went on. Selfishly, I'm calling dibs. I want to go see him a couple times again this spring, just to see how he continues to progress. But like, not to put too lofty of expectations on the kid, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, one time this spring and he's touching 97 with the fastball. Like, there's still a ton of room to go there. So I'll pass the mic over to Drew.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like might see 97. Now, that might not come until June. The fact that he lives up there in McHenry and they play in the Fox Valley and they get that cold weather probably longer than anybody. Them in like that North Suburban League. But no, man, it's so pumped to see what Brandon Shannon did, because he has been on a meteoric rise. He had a great fall. A lot of people know about him. A lot of people have seen him. They've been hearing the buzz about the velo kind of going up this winter. But for him to come to the Super 60 at that stage, felt like he was pouring in strikes with the fastball. And what I love is like there was zero timidness in the off speed. He was letting it rip. Really, really spinning it. He throws 2 breaking balls. I thought they both kind of played similar to each other, but they both have really, really good action and a chance to be above average pitches. And then to hear that his splitter is his, best or maybe favorite pitch, all kinds of arm speed going on, just letting it hang out there on the mound. And that is such an awesome sight to see. And then I know we've talked about it a couple times, but like just talking to him before he had to get on the mound, like great kid, looks you in the eye, super, respectful, pumped to be there. Just so many good vibes coming out of that, and especially out of Brandon Shannon. And I hope the best for him. I cannot wait to see what he kind of does this spring and who calls his name this upcoming summer, as long as everything just kind of keeps trending the way it's trending. So, no, it was. I think the biggest thing for me, Gavin and Pete, is like, and Tyler, is it's like the future games for me. Like, I just want our guys to show as well as they can, like for them. Like, I want them to come in and it's like, hey, we've seen it really good before. Like, I hope you can show everybody else what we know you are, what we know you have in there. And I felt like every guy did that. And that's all you can ask for, inviting these guys or whatever it may be. And as the state director, just, man, they definitely represented Illinois well. And I love that.
100%. And touching back on Shannon a little bit, he is just such a perfect pro guy for me. Like, the ceiling, and like there is no doubt pitchers there that are more polished and more physically ready, and they could probably go into college right now and get outs. Whereas Brandon Shannon, I don't know, he might go to Louisville and struggle a little bit, just because he's a little more raw, and that is what it is. Everyone has that adjustment period, but he is such a perfect pro guy for me, just with that ceiling he has. Like, there's such a difference between like his floor and ceiling. Like there's guys, it's like kind of like the Owen Murphy, Noah Schultz thing. Like, yep. His ceiling is so high. So I think he's got a really good chance. Someone has to fall in love with that, and someone's got to take a chance. Not even a chance, but someone's got to fall in love with that and get him into their system quick.
No, there's a lot of players that are coming out of high school that their floors are a lot closer to their ceilings than Brandon Shannon.
That's what I was trying to say.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of those guys were kind of near max.
Yep.
And not a lot. Some of them were maybe near max. But don't get me wrong, their max is real good, but his ceiling is even higher than that.
And that's what it's all about. It's about dreaming on these guys. It's not about what they are at the Super 60 or, what they are when they're 17 years old. It's about what can they be when they're 22, 23, 24. And like, you look at Brandon Shannon and it's like, yeah, I'll bet on that. Like, the frame's only going to get better. It already has. Like you said, like, he kind of had that frame similar to CJ DeKinga. When you have the really long levers and a little bit of a thinner waist,
like some lean
sometimes
strength,
it can be harder.
Too.
Yeah, like a trim. It can be harder to gain that muscle and gain that strength and actually like have it show. And I felt like both of those guys have already kind of started to move that needle with the frame, and like there's only so much more to go on both of them. Goodness, like wait till you see Brandon Shannon when he's 23, 24, and he gets whether it's like a pro workout, regimen they have him on, or he goes to Louisville and they get him just crushing weights. Like, he's gonna look a lot different if he's going on this path that we have him on.
Yeah, and that's a great call. Like, it was noticeably, like, they were noticeably getting stronger, and they're still lean and got a ways to go, but like, I don't know if it was just the shorts we were giving out, but like both of their quads were kind of popping out too. I was like, dang, these guys are getting after it. So no, it was good to see.
For anybody out there, Hammett's a quad guy. He's a quad guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to notice, you know what I mean?
Oh. Well, we're wrapping up the Super 60 and Pro Case. Right after the Super 60, our Illinois and some of our Wisconsin staff, we stuck around for the Unsigned Senior event that we host every year. We have a lot of 2025s, or all 2025s, that are uncommitted at this event. Hammond, I know you were there evaluating Drew. Like, were there any big standout performances or prospects for you guys from that event?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we roll it is usually the Unsigned Senior is going on in the past it's been going on at the same time as the Super 60. With like pitching will still be going on, so we'll usually get right into pitching, and that's how we did it this year. There was only 4 arms. The first arm that I saw was bumping 90. All right, I was like I was walking towards him. I was like, that looks a lot like what that looks on that side of the net, and just like velo wise. So I walk over, and yeah, Joseph Falkowski from Taft was bumping 90. He was 88 to 90, hit 93 times. It was his first time hitting 90. He was shocked. He thought our TrackMan was hot. It was not. And he was also spinning a breaking ball over 2,700 RPM. It's more of like for me at least at the moment, like a bullpen profile. But I think, it's hard not to like 88 to 90 with high spin on the breaking ball. So that is for sure a name that people need to get on ASAP.
Well, I'm really glad you mentioned the high school that he's at Taft, because it kind of made me recall Dominic Jacoby.
Yeah, I looked that up yesterday. I was like, he went to Taft too.
And
yeah.
How we should throw him in as definitely a winner from the pro case. So that was one unique thing we did this year was Dominic Jacoby. He went to a different junior college last year. He's at Harper Junior College this year. And we saw him at the Puma Classic this fall. Showed really, really well. And we think he's a draft type of guy. We think he's a pro follow. So we invited him to the pro case. They hadn't started their year yet. He's not an arm, so we felt most comfortable bringing a position guy in. And I thought he showed extremely well at the pro case. Really swung the bat. It was really simple, balanced, repeatable, and was hammering balls. Like you look at him, it's kind of what I'm taught, like with dreaming on guys and what they could be. Like physically, you look at what he looked like in high school and where he is now. He has put in some work. Like he has clearly done it. His tools have ticked up because of the work he's put in. His arm plays good around the diamond. He's got plenty of juice, off the bat. And I thought that was a guy that should be called out as well. But yeah, getting back to the unsigned senior, unless you had anything on Dominic.
No, I mean, he is noticeably stronger now than he was in the fall when we did the JUCO day. He was the first one there. That's another thing to mention. He was the first one there like an hour and a half early, or maybe not an hour and a half, but like a little over an hour early. Noticeably stronger, so obviously he gets after it. He was there like an hour early, stretching, getting ready, preparing. Super nice kid too. Talked to us, was really appreciative of being there. So no, I wish him the best. But sticking on arms here, and then yeah, moving over to Colt Armbrust from St. Francis. I mean, he was kind of a similar build to Falkowski. They were in the 6 foot, like 190, 200 range. And it was just funny. I think it was Andy Stroka walked over because Armbrust came on the mound after him, and he's like, that kid's still pitching? I was like, no, it's another one. We got another one right now. He was like 85 to 87. Good mover, few good off speeds. So definitely another one to have, on your radar for unsigned seniors. And then, yeah, moving over to the position players, I think for me, the first one that stood out to me was Noah Fitzgerald. We kind of knew about him coming into this. He's shown well in the past at events, but, I really like the glove on the infield. I think it's super fluid, super natural. The arm plays good across, can play on the move, different angles. I think the right-handed swing, too, is pretty loose, and there's some, athleticism in there, and I thought he just took a good round. He averaged around 92 miles an hour, and he got up in the mid-upper 90s as well for that.
Pete, one guy that I just kind of noticed walking around as I was evaling, running the event, just kind of feeding the hack attack and doing stuff like that, was the Jack Perrone. And I don't know if it's Perrone or Perrone from Hampshire, but I thought the frame really looked the part, like really athletic, high-waisted, and he ran a 6.72, had a little sneaky juice in the bat. He was 96 peak exit velocity. The way he moved and the way his frame looks, like I think he took it on the infield defensively, but he struck me as like a guy that could very easily transition to center field.
100%.
And just run and go get it and let the swing work. And so that's a guy that I thought, is definitely a college caliber. I would think he's on everybody's list of the schools that were there at the event, but that was one. And then I want to shout out Keaton Davis. In Ottawa Marquette, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Led the event with a 99-mile-an-hour exit velocity. But really, what stood out to me was just he was an awesome kid. He helped us catching balls across the infield. He was a catcher. He didn't have to do it, and he went over there, gave us an extra hand. Didn't complain about it. Was all about it. Just seems like a very, very easy guy to root for. That also, showed college caliber type of tools.
Yeah, going back to Perone, that's a great call out on being able to move to center with that athleticism. That's actually something, because I'd reached out to a couple of schools today about him. I had mentioned that, so that's a great shout. And yeah, we actually had seen him at the Rock. I was looking at his profile. He's on that AHQ team, Fivelson, so we've seen them, and that's a really good team. And he was hitting towards the top of their lineup, I think in the 2-hole. So that speaks volumes. Not just a showcase, pony. He can actually do it in game too. But looking at an Indiana kid that was there, Drew, Matt Savanich. I hope I'm not butchering that, but he's from Valparaiso, 5'10", 155, lean. There's more to come there. But I really liked the left-handed swing. I thought it was really balanced, pretty polished. Using the whole field, he could cover the plate. It was up to 93 miles an hour. And he's also a good mover. He is 7.03 runner. Took it in the outfield. I thought he was just a good little prospect to know.
Nope, I'm on the exact same page. He was one of my favorite bats from the day. Just a swing that looks like it's really going to play. Like, the path was really clean, on plane, like you said, sprayed it around the yard. I was a fan of Matt. Yeah, so we'll have to give him some love and shout it out through PBR, Prep Baseball Indiana. Make sure Cooper Trinkle knows what's up on him. So.
Yeah. And, just keep an eye out. Our quick hits are out. Our spotlight tweets from this event are out. So keep an eye out for some more information on this event. We'll have our data dive coming out either later today or tomorrow. So just keep an eye out for that. But moving on, do you guys want to get into Prospect of the Week really quick and wrap up this episode before getting into our interview with our guest?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, who's your
Prospect
guy?
of the Week, one of my favorite parts of what we're doing here. I love shouting guys out, and I love mixing it up. We don't have a criteria of hey, you need to do an unsigned senior, you need to do a 26, a 27. I love kind of looking through our list, and it's okay, who should we shout out this week? And I like having a variety, and I felt like we kind of did this week with who we chose. But I'm going to go with Braden Sailing, Williamsville, 2025. He's not a rank, and it kind of speaks to, first off, how hard it is to do the rankings, but then also if you're not ranked, it doesn't mean you're not a good player. There are so many good players in Illinois, and not all of them can be ranked, and we have to cut the list off at somewhere. So Braden Sailing was at our state games this last summer. Shortstop, right-handed pitcher. He's a left-handed hitter. He's a sub-7 runner, and he's a baseball player that I think has more to come. And that's why I really like him. Talk about the floor to ceiling. I think there's still some ceiling there for him to get to. And he's a good baseball player. So, he's got a really good foundation. He's got a lot of feel on the mound. It's low 80s right now, but you watch the video, the arm really works. It looks like he can get the fastball. An underrated thing, I think, for pitchers, especially if you're going to succeed at the next level, is simply to be able to throw your fastball to your glove side. If you could throw your fastball to the glove side, I think you have a chance. And you watch that video, and he's consistently getting it to the glove side. He could throw his off speed for strikes. And then you look at the swing, and it's loose. It's athletic. It doesn't have a ton of punch to it right now, but I think that's going to come. And then he can defend, and he could probably stick on the infield. So I really like Braden Sailing, especially as just prospect of the week. I looked on his X. It didn't look like we missed his commitment anywhere. So Braden, if we did or whatever, let us know. If not, you're a coach out there looking for, a guy right now that can stick up the middle, can also help you on the mound, and also is a left-handed bat. To me, that deserves a ton of attention. So prospect of the week, let's get it.
Drew, that was a really good call out. Actually, I saw him at the state games pitching a little bit, and I remember loving the way that he moved. And I was watching his video just now, and like you said, it's just a really loose and easy arm. He's interesting. That's a good call out there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll hop in here next. I'm gonna go with David Lang from Hinsdale Central, and he's probably another guy that we could probably rank. It's just tough. Like, there's just only so many spots, and like Drew said, it does not mean you're not a good player. Like, there is a ton of people that could easily be in these rankings. It's just, a lot of dynamics that go into it. But he's a left-handed pitcher. Lefties are, super sought after. And he'll work, low mid 80s. We've heard rumblings that it's been a little firmer than that in the upper 80s, but 3 quality pitches, fastball, curveball, changeup. I really like the way it moves. He controls his body well. He can throw all 3 pitches for strikes. And there's still more to come. He's 6'1", 185. So, yeah, I'll have to hop over to Hinsdale Central and see him this spring. But definitely an uncommitted lefty to know.
Yeah, and then my guy is Jack. I believe it's Shaq. Coach Malinowski, we actually got to talk to him at the IHS BCA convention. Me and Drew out of Lockport.
Is that
Jack
what
Shaq,
is that? Yeah, did he pronounce it there for us? Because I've definitely been saying it wrong.
Because we've been saying Sheik, I think, since he emerged on the radar for us. But, man, I've liked Jack for a while. I actually got to see him last spring when he was a sophomore down at the Kickoff Classic. And I feel like he's getting better and better every time we see him. There's projection there in the frame. It's 6'3", 157. So he's got room to add some more strength and muscle into that frame. But, it's a low to mid 80s arm. We had him up to 80. We've seen him up to 85 in the past. Wouldn't be surprised to see that tick up this spring. He's probably going to be the ace or, even the number 2 for what should be a really good Lockport team this spring. So we'll have to get out and see him as well as that entire Lockport team. But I think another thing that's, a tip of the cap to him is he's really confident in his breaking stuff and throwing it in the zone, which as a younger guy that you don't always see that, right? Kids can be timid throwing their breaking stuff. He goes right at guys. I saw that in the spring, saw that this summer at the state games. He plays the game with a ton of moxie, which is, in my opinion, something you really need to have as a pitcher. So big fan of Jack and can't wait to see Lockport this spring.
Yeah, and then to round this out here, my uncommitted prospect of the week is 2A state champion, corner infielder Brady Hatton from St. Anthony. He's a 2025. I didn't mention that already. 6'5", 190-pound frame. And honestly, what I like about Brady, I haven't seen him a ton. I just saw him throughout the state weekend this past year. He just hits. Like, it is a very flat path, and he just hits. He had, I don't have the exact stats from the weekend, but he was one of their leading hitters. I think he's hitting in the 3 or 4 hole for them. But then he ended up coming to our Southern Illinois Summer ID, and he had a 96 mile an hour max exit velocity, 91 mile an hour average, which Drew and all of us have talked about that the average is very important because that's showing that that's what they are consistently doing. And it's closer to his max. So really impressive there. And then the 344-foot max distance for Brady at that event. But like I said, my favorite thing about him is, well, his frame too, because if you look at him, he's got a ton of room to add strength still. But then also just his ability to hit in game. Like I've just, in the few times that I've seen him in game, he hits. So that's a big plus for Brady. But uncommitted, 2025 from St. Anthony, Brady Hatton. And that kind of wraps up our episode before we get into our interview here. But no, let's get into it.
All right, we are back at it here at the IHS BCA convention. This is day 2, and we are lucky enough to be joined by Ernest Horton, the CEO of Black Baseball Media. And Ernest, I want to turn it over to you, man. Like, what do you got going? I met you last year for the first time. We started kind of just chatting about what you had going, the event you were putting on last spring at Ozinga. Yep. And, maybe is there a way we can work together or, help promote what we're all doing here. Absolutely. And that's trying to help out the players in Illinois and the baseball players in the community and promoting them the right way. So talk to me. What's going on with you?
Well, Drew, first and foremost, thanks for having us, man. You guys are doing a great job. Shout out to PBR Illinois, somewhat the best baseball. I'm just throwing a little, not
Keep it going.
Shade,
Keep it going.
These guys do an excellent job, but thanks for having us. This year, we got the Chicago High School Baseball Classic. We call this thing the Super Bowl of high school baseball. This is our 4th year. It'll be April 12th at Ozinga Field. All the unique thing about this event is 100% of ticket sales goes back to the programs. They don't pay to play in this event. We bring the community out. Last year we had 3,500 fans. This year, since whoever's watching this, make sure you guys come out. It's April 12th, 2025. You go to blackbaseballmedia.com to get your tickets. The schools that participate is game one. We have Rich Township versus Ogden. This will be, our South Burbs versus City kind of showdown. We've been hearing a lot of comments on the internet, which side of town, side of Illinois got the best baseball. So, you got the South Burbs and Ogden. Rich Township, Corey Stallings is doing a fantastic job rebuilding that program. They're going to be doing some great things.
I like to hear that.
Ogden are the new kids on the block in the city. That's CPS North. They had a very good season last year, so I'm excited to see what Coach Poole and, the Ogden Owls do. So that's game one. Game two, we have the rematch of a very thrilling game last year. Last year, home of Flossmoor and Lane Tech, they went to extra innings.
Okay.
They had a walk-off. Sushi Wilson played a great job. He's gone to Florida. But, hopefully he's going to be tuning in watching his old team play. But we'll have home of Flossmoor led by Coach Marcus Rogers. He does a fantastic job with that group. He's building up home of Flossmoor to be a powerhouse in Illinois. My good friend Sean Freeman, Lane Tech, their mascots changed to the champions, and they're the defending city champs, so it's only right that we
fitting, huh?
Oh, I know, right? So it's only, fitting that we bring that game, run it back. And then our third game is our marquee matchup. It's Kenwood versus Simeon. You can't talk city baseball without Kenwood and Simeon. Coach Rami Bracey's back at the helm with Kenwood. Kenwood went to the city championship last year. They came up just a little short to Lane Tech, but that game was off the chain at Wrigley. We saw my man.
Say, Pete was over there covering that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Simeon, Coach Brandon Williams, he's preserving the legacy. Simeon does have, I believe, at all the schools in Illinois, they have the most draft picks.
You're probably right, and I would trust you on knowing that because I know the run they had going back in the 90s when Kevin Coe and company was coming through, and Corey Ray was Simeon as well, correct?
Ronnell Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Marshawn,
you could keep going.
It's a long list of outstanding players. So, Coach Brandon Williams is doing a great job preserving that legacy and building it back up. And then this game is, this event is a community event, right? No matter what neighborhood you're from, you're going to come out. Chicago White Sox, they're being very generous. Yeah. They're going to come do some on-site activation. So they're going to have that wheel. They're going to be giving out some great giveaways. And we got awesome sponsors like Neville's Heating and Cooling. That's Bryce Neville's dad.
Okay.
He comes in as a big sponsor. AK Custom Homes. We got Doug Foster, who's Rue Foster, the founder of Negro League, his grandson, he's one of our sponsors. Okay. The Chicago Cubs came on board. We also have Wintrust Bank. Wintrust Bank. Make sure you guys
helping you out, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We have to we changed our bank over to Wintrust Bank. And we got many more sponsors who just come. They help us out to put this event on, and it's cost-free for the programs. Like I said before, this is a fundraiser for the programs. They get ticket sales, and so if you can't make it, you can watch on the live stream on our YouTube. Just click that membership button. You can watch it live for all the people around the country. If you can't drive up to Chicago, make sure you watch it live.
I'm going to try to be there. So we're talking last year at 3,500 spectators.
Oh, yeah.
At Ozinga. Is it back at Ozinga?
It's back at Ozinga.
And you said April 12th.
April 12th.
3 games.
3 games.
Okay, community, come on out. I get fired up just listening here to Ernest talk because he clearly cares. He's put a ton of time and effort into this. Think like all the sponsors he's already got going, and this event's not till April. So he's putting in a ton of legwork, and I'll keep letting him talk here, but I'm getting fired up just listening to him.
Well, we got to have PBR out, right? Because we know PBR, you guys originated this showcase thing.
Well, Sean Duncan, shout out to Sean Duncan back in 2005, and we're just trying to do the best we can here and do it how he'd want it to be run in Illinois, and trying to do it the right way. And I know we were talking a little bit before, jumping on here, but that's really all we're trying to do. And I know we're not perfect, but getting across all of Illinois, covering the entire state, Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, covering the city, covering everything we're trying to do here. So just super happy that you want us to be a part of it, to be honest with you, is really cool for us. So thank you.
Absolutely. And then this is the thing, we say this a lot. We all a band of brothers. and sisters, don't don't
forget
put no
about 'em.
comment
Yeah.
on. Yeah, but no, this baseball is such a close knit circle. We're not the basketball and the footballs, but baseball is a very unique sport, and we're America's favorite pastime, and we want to keep this game going in the right direction. And also, PBR, we want to make sure when you guys get there, we're gonna give you a little shout out. It's a surprise and everything, but we're gonna turn you guys up a little bit on our
Look at this.
social media.
Look at this. Well, if we can help you out and you can help us out, that sounds good to me.
Absolutely. And on top of Chicago, we're in
Yeah, talk
three
about
other cities.
because
Yes.
this is new from last year.
This is
correct?
new from
All right,
last
so
year.
talk to me.
We added on 3 cities to our high school classic tour. So what we did was we saw the Chicago market. It works. So the formula works. Programs don't pay to get in to play. They get portions of revenue
Yeah.
of what we raise,
Yeah.
and then we're able to economically sustain their programs. the
I mean,
public schools.
it almost sounds too good to be true the way
Yeah.
you're doing this,
It
and that
is.
must be why the sponsorships are so important
Absolutely.
and everything you're doing. But what you're trying to do for these programs is, I've never even heard of such a cool thing. You're like what you're putting together. So
Absolutely. So, in our cities for 2025, we have San Diego. The San Diego High School Classic is going to be March 22nd at the University of San Diego.
Nice.
They came on as a
Beautiful
sponsor.
place,
They're doing a
by
great
the way.
job. We're
Yeah.
partnering with Jock Jones. You remember Jock Jones?
I remember Jack Jones. He was a Cubs.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
So
outfielder.
we met and we started coming up with some ideas. He's like, man, I want you to bring what you guys do in Chicago to San Diego. And from there, we put everything together. We'll have, actually, Rich Township is going to participate in that event. They're going to fly out.
Okay.
So they'll be representing Illinois. We have St. Bernard's, led by Coach Vic Butler. He was a big draft pick back in the early 2000s. St. Bernard's is a fantastic. They're loaded. I told Stallings and them they better put their big boy pants on. But then the marquee matchup, the night game, will be Lincoln High School versus Morris High School. Those are two you can't get a better rivalry in San Diego in sports. So that's March 22nd. Then we have, of course, Chicago, the Super Bowl of high school baseball.
There you go.
That's April 12th. Then May 19th, we have our New York High School Classic. That's between Polytech and 5 Tool Development. My good friend Lance, we partner on that event. Strowman's son is on Polytech.
Okay.
He'll be participating and playing in the game.
He's Strowman's son or brother? Is it you're talking Marcus Strowman?
Yeah.
Because he's a position guy, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
he's the
okay.
position guy.
Okay.
So he'll be participating in that event. And then May 25th, on Memorial Day weekend, we'll be having the Motor City Classic. So the Motor City Classic, the Detroit Tigers, shout out to Detroit Tigers and the Players Alliance, founded by Curtis Granderson, they are coming on board to help us out. So
Nice.
that event is going to be fantastic.
So you got 4 total coming up this spring. It's almost like what, one every month,
One every
starting
month,
in March.
starting in March.
And
Yeah.
smart to make the Chicago one in April,
Oh,
and
yeah.
New York in May, as
Yeah,
late as you can.
late as you can to push it
Absolutely.
back.
We want to enjoy the day. We don't want to
I
be
know.
all in 18 layers here, just freezing watching these boys play. So
Absolutely.
yeah, let's hope we get a beautiful day for this event. And that's really cool. The activation going across the country, and we'll have to make sure that we let our Prep Baseball California, Les Lukács, know about this San Diego event.
Come on
and then
out.
talk about Jared Carrier up in Prep Baseball New York. Show him what that's about. And then if you're activating in Michigan as well, it sounds like, so we'll have
Yep.
to let them know as well.
Yep.
So, no, really, really good. And it just sounds like you guys and what you're doing is only growing. You're only trying to take it to the next level. And just your personality and your energy and your passion, it's evident. And who wouldn't want to, kind of gravitate to what you're doing and what you're pushing for, because it's all about these kids. So I love to see it. It fires me up. And, is there anything else we're missing here, Ernest, that you want to touch on?
I want to hear about what you guys got coming up.
Oh.
It's Super 60 time.
It's Super 60 time. The first event of the winter, we run the Pro Case.
Okay.
So the Super 60, it used to be so Illinois focused. When we first started, we'd get 40, 60, Illinois players that were pro follows. Maybe dip into Wisconsin or Indiana or Ohio. But now, with how national we are, the Super 60, we're drawing kids from Texas, Florida. So there's not as much room for those Illinois guys.
Right.
So that was the main crux of why we started this Pro Case. Hey, you got a tool that a pro guy needs to see. You think
Yep.
you should be a follow? Like, come to this event. It's a smaller event. It's January 29th. We run it before the Super 60.
Okay.
So if there's any standouts, that come, do their thing, show well. We save an invite or two for the Super 60 for
Nice.
those guys.
Okay.
And then, after that, we got the Super 60, which I know we were talking about
Yeah.
a little bit. And
What's the date on the Super 60 this
It's
year?
going to be the week before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I think it's February 2nd this year.
Okay.
You know, don't quote me on this stuff, but I think, February 9th was the date of the Super Bowl. So that's when the Super 60 is. And then, I mean, Ernest, like our February from there on out is jam-packed every
Okay.
weekend, running events across the state, trying to see as many players as we can to figure out who we need to follow in the spring. You know, who does Rich Township have?
Yep.
You know, who does Ogden International have? Who do we need to see? Who's at HF, you know, besides Demir Heidelberg right now? How's Henry Humes, you know, trending on the mound? All these guys over there. So that's what we use the winter for, get updates on these guys, and then let's go to games every single day we can in the spring. Unfortunately, we do, you know, live in Illinois and Chicago, and the weather dictates some things. But, we get out as much as we can to see these guys and boots on the ground, and that's what we're looking forward to. I love the spring. It's the favorite time of year for me, and it's right around the corner.
Absolutely.
So,
We're here.
Yeah, that's
And,
what
you
I
know,
got going.
Man, shout out to PBR. One of the things we're talking, you guys didn't see it off camera, but I really appreciate what you guys do. I've been to a couple of events that you guys did with the kids. I like it because it's not just you get hit 8 balls and thrown 8 balls like, see you later. You guys are really taking a hands-on approach like, hey, make sure you guys stay on your backside next time. I'm hearing the guy throwing back press, hey, that boy, you know, stay through it. Like, those are the things that makes the parents say, hey, I need to come back because I see the value in it. I saw I check out the website every now and then. It's clean, very direct to get to. And one of the things is also that Anthony Olivo and I were talking about, the director with the ACE program.
Yeah.
When we select kids for double duty, you know, that's out of, we lean on PBR.
Okay.
Because it's well trusted.
You can use us as a resource
Absolutely,
almost to look up the player or whatever
Absolutely.
it may be. Okay, I love
Because
to hear that.
for the double duty class at Black Baseball Media, we come in and, you know, we run the tailgate and we assist with the selection of the players. And just as another, we don't have the final say, so do not blow my inbox up and say, you didn't pick me. No, we don't have a final say. We are, you know, the deciding factor if somebody says, what do you think about this guy compared to this guy?
I love that it sounds like it's a group effort.
It is.
And
totally
that's what
is.
it's all about, because everybody's got a different eye. They see the guys at different times. They see a guy show really well or not show well. They see him maybe, you know, act like a fool on the baseball field. And that's something that we want to know. You know, maybe they shouldn't be representing the double duty classic.
Exactly.
You know, like character goes a long way and how you play the game. And those are things that we are always looking for. You know, talent is talent, but, you know, what makes a player tick? How good are they going to be? What kind of teammate are they? Are they coachable? So all that stuff goes into, for us, evaluating player, but maybe for you, selecting, hey, who should we give these opportunities?
Absolutely. And also, we lean on you guys. You know, I'm going to give you guys a back-end secret. We had to look through PBR to see, all right, so Lane has who coming back? HF has who coming in and stuff, so that's why, you know, we had to give you guys your kudos and flowers because a lot of stuff is expedited. We were able to make an informed decision way faster, and now we could focus more on promoting the event to promote the kids and not having to worry like, is this guy gonna throw the ball across the plate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are we getting out of this player? And to me, that just makes me very happy to hear because our website, us seeing these players, putting the information out there is allowing them to not only get opportunities with us, but get opportunities with another organization, another, you know, media outlet. And that's what we're all about, is get these players in the right opportunities to be seen by the right people. So that's what we're trying to do here.
And the last thing, you know, the parents, right? I'm gonna say this message. This is not coming from people.
There's a little bit of a deep breath there, like, all right, I need to make sure I say this right.
I gotta say it the right way. But I see parents get in their feelings about either reports, rankings. Silence parents, don't look at any of that, right? Because guess what? No matter where your child is, when he goes to college, plays at a competitive high school, or he goes pro, whatever, he might be in the workforce, they're gonna have a report on them evaluation. You don't use it to say, no, they're wrong for writing it. They're wrong for saying this. No, it's a very analytical way to evaluate, to make an informed decision. If you don't like the ranking or the rating or something you wrong, talking about is not gonna do nothing. You get back in the cage, get back in the lab, and let's get busy.
Just get better.
Baseball, I mean, I'm very stern, and baseball is a very grit game. It's gritty. There is no shortcuts. There is no, hey, the favorite. There is none of that. And the way college baseball is working now, these college coaches, they lose their livelihoods if they pick wrong on your kid. So they have to depend on brutally honest information. But with the brutally honest information, you could use that as motivation, as a training tool. Okay, my exit velo is 76. They said my backside, I got to kind of correct my in motion, not jumping at the baseball. Now, you got the truth. Now you can become a better baseball player. If you want somebody to lie to you, you just go do whatever you want, and then it's not going to be good in the outcome. But I had to get that out because I sit back and read and hear it's getting out of control. You guys are letting this stuff keep you up all night.
You're hitting on such a good point here, Ernest, and it's something we try to talk to the players before an event. And there's certain things that we try to talk to them about that we care about as a company, and it's all about like controlling what you can control and just getting better every day. And you talk about the rankings. Like, we are one organization. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, you don't know if we see your kid, having a really bad day, or maybe he's playing through an injury, or maybe he's not feeling good and he's playing, and we see him on that day. We don't have the luxury of seeing these guys 50 times, 100 times a year to get the truest evaluation. We're doing the best we can sometimes on 1-2 looks, and then some players, we'll see him in a showcase. We'll see him multiple times in a game. I've got 20 at-bats on Kamari Thomas. I know he can hit. I know he can run the bases. I know he can play center field at the next level. But if maybe I get one look at somebody else, I don't truly have that confidence level. So how can I rank him as high as Kamari Thomas? And a ranking is a number. It doesn't mean anything. It is an indicator on where you are and where we think you may be in the future. But how many times have we been wrong? How many times are guys that are not ranked end up being draft picks? Yep. Go on. Maybe they start at a lower level, or maybe they get plucked by a D1. Maybe we didn't know about a guy, and they go on and they continue to get better in college. Because that's what it's all about. It's not about how good you are at 14, Ernest. It's not about how good you are at 15 or 16. Get to that ceiling. You want to be as good as you can be at 24, 25, 26, 27 until somebody takes that ball away from you and says, hey, you're not good enough to play anymore. Like, the ranking is something that people care about, okay? They want to look at it. It's interesting. We rank high school teams because people like hearing, who are the best high school teams, or what do we think? I like looking up basketball rankings or the NFL power rankings because it's interesting.
Well, NCAA football got it wrong.
Well, hey, I'm not going to go there. I don't have a team or anything. I don't have a dog in that fight. Right. But I feel like it is so important because it is just it's a number, and it doesn't tell the story at all. There are so many players that, are ranked 200th and end up, having great careers or whatever it may be. And tons of good players that don't get ranked. So you hit on such a good point there. And I think you use it as fuel, right? Like, use it as fuel. Prove us wrong. Like, tell me to my face, like, hey, I'm better than, what you have me ranked, or, I should be ranked. Go prove it. Like, go show it. You're the one that's going to, go do it. And whether you prove us wrong or not, it's going to help you in the long run. All that's going to do is make you a better player. So,
absolutely.
I don't know. I could go on and on about
I can too.
It's so important.
But I want to, and this is not going to be the first. This is just the first time. This is not going to be the only time that we jump on the camera. And I think it's a very good space to speak about because there's so many like rumblings that you guys don't hear. We hear because we're at the ground level. And it's like, it's just not the truth, right? And I think that's good that we talked about this early on before the season starts, and we might get some pushback. We don't care. We're in the media, they're in the event space, and we're here for that effective dialogue. Yes. We said a lot of times on our podcast, you hit it. We don't care about you being great at 14. Can you better your career in baseball? Like you said, till they take the baseball out your hand, and when they take it out your hands, they got job openers, we got job openers. We all need help when it's over. Come on in, but no.
We want good people.
Absolutely, absolutely. But no, thank you so much for having me, man.
Oh, this has been a lot of fun, Ernest. So, no, really cool stuff you got going over there at Black Baseball Media. And everybody out there, pay attention to all these activations they've got going this spring, all the different states they're trying to hit. I only see this continuing to grow.
Absolutely.
And what a great leader at the helm here. And really, really proud to just have the relationship that we've kind of had here over the last 2 years, just some of these quick conversations. Looking forward to it growing and seeing what you guys do out there.
Absolutely, man. Right. Make sure y'all go follow Black Baseball Media. April 12th, 2025, the Super Bowl of high school baseball. First pitch, 11 a.m. Crestwood, Ozinga Field.
Boom.
We appreciate Ernest Horton hopping on and talking with us on this interview. or on this episode. Yeah, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.